really interesting news coming out of the Olympics. We saw big news in the golf, Higgins, as Rahm and DeChambeau are out with COVID. We saw the USA men's team go down on the basketball court. The women's 3x3 team, they're 4-0. And you told me before the show, so I had to bring it up. You watched some women sailing in the Olympics at 3 a.m. So why don't you tell us a little about that experience?
Yes, so I am someone that loves watching the Olympics, especially when it's not in an American time zone, because I am not someone that is a very good sleeper. So if I happen to be up late at night, like I am on the West Coast, I can watch at 3 o'clock in the morning. Women's sailing, and I believe it was called Laser Radiant, is the format that they were racing. And it was, in my opinion, just pure chaos. It was over 100 boats or something racing down around a single buoy, coming back around different buoys. And as you can imagine, as some of these boats are coming around those buoys and heading against all the traffic, it just looks absolutely chaotic on the screen. And to be honest, the play-by-play people barely knew what was going on as well, so them throwing us a bone and trying to inform us on what's going on, it's like, how do you qualify for this? How does this happen? When do they start? Where do they start? Like, all of these were not covered before I heard the horn just go off to signify the beginning of this event. It was a very entertaining way to spend some sleepless hours, I'll tell you that, but yeah, I'm an Olympics fan, so I like to jump around between all of the various sports that you have.
There you go, Higgins. So no bets on the women's laser point sailing, but what are you betting on, Higgins?
Well, so I am betting on the golf, which you previewed a little bit. But that is starting on Thursday, and I want to bring that up right now because this is really our best opportunity to give out some picks for that line because by the time they're golfing on Thursday morning in Japan, we're probably going to pretty much be recording our episode on Wednesday night. So it's not going to be really conducive to give some listeners anything with that way. So you said John Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau are both out because they've recently tested positive for the coronavirus. I don't know who else that could impact potentially, so I'm being limited with three outright picks right now, and I'm as we get closer going to probably place a few others. So make sure to go to our social media at MBB Pod on Twitter and at Next Best Bet on Instagram. But there's three names I want you to watch for, Brett, and there's significant reasons beyond just the game of golf. We have Hideki Matsuyama, who just won the Masters and is a very talented golfer in his own right. Japanese golfer playing in his home country, trying to bring home a golf championship to Japan. You never know what type of pride that could give him. So I'm putting a unit behind him at plus 1600. Not the best odds, but I still do like the value. And then there's two names from South Korea that you should be paying attention to because they are both in this window where it is one of their last real opportunities to be able to make themselves exempt from military service. In South Korea, you have to serve by the time you turn 28, I believe it is. And so both of these two golfers in Siwoo Kim and Sungjae Im, both of them are golfing right now in order to avoid or be able to be deferred from their military enrollment. If they win an Olympic medal, they would be deferred from that program. So Siwoo Kim at plus 7,000, Sung Jae Im at plus 4,000. Those both seem like fantastic odds for two fully capable PGA Tour golfers in my aspect. And if you look at them even on the odds right now, they're not very far outside of the top 10. They're sitting inside the top 15 to the top 20.
Yeah, I've got Siwoo Kim's not far down. Like he's in with a good group of golfers here. I'm looking at the FanDuel Sportsbook right now here in New Jersey. Higgins, Sung J M obviously up there with Corey Connors and Fleetwood, but both sitting outside of the top 15 on my book. But interesting to note, I do think there's some long shots you can take some stabs at here. especially with a lot of the win equity out of the field. You would think Rom and Bryson DeChambeau would be some of the heavy hitters. Obviously, the USA still sending Morikawa, Schauffele, Justin Thomas. We're not hurting too much without Bryson in there,
I
and
believe I saw Patrick Reed's replacing Bryson anyway, so it's not like they'll be without a USA golfer. They're just replacing another one.
right, yep, exactly. Patrick Reed, and he's actually listed at the seventh best odds here in the FanDuel book, Higgins. So, really interesting to see all the Americans up there. I think, and I'm not on this, Higgins, just something of interest while I was looking at while you were talking. Christian Bezenhuit from South Africa has had an unbelievable season playing in the major tournaments, Higgins. And, he's down there, lower odds than Sung J M, slightly better odds than Siwoo Kim. But he's down in that territory you were talking about. And he's another guy, like, I think with, a guy like DeChambeau and Rahm out of the field, those are guys that are better golfers than him, but not too many golfers have been better than him in the top of the top major tournaments.
I should also note that I am being rather bold with these outright picks for Sung J M and Siwoo Kim because they just have to be Olympic medalists. So if you want to be a little bit more reserved than I am, you can go for these top 5 finishes even. Or depending on the book you're using, there may be a medalist option even. So those are my golf picks though. Brett, I do also have a track pick that I'm putting out, and this is an Oregon Sportsbook special that I found. It's plus 900 that the top 3, so all 3 medal positions in the 100-meter dash, will be held by USA runners when the finals are done. And at first I was very hesitant when I saw this special line because growing up the way we have with the Olympics, Brett, you think of the 100-meter dash, you think of Usain Bolt. You think of basically just Usain Bolt. And you think of Jamaica, if anything, beyond Usain Bolt. So thinking of USA to go 1, 2, 3 was a little bit harder for me to do until I started looking into the actual numbers. And if you look at these qualifying numbers that these runners were putting up back in July and June, and I'm not just talking about the United States runners, I'm talking about the world runners. This is all on worldathletics.org, and you will see that the United States runners, the sprinters in America, hold the top 8 of the top 9 spots in terms of qualifying times. Now, the caveat here is the second fastest time is held by a Russian. He holds a 1/100th lead over 2 United States runners that both finished with a 9.85. It is going to be close, I think. So at plus 900, the odds are intriguing enough that it took me, but I'll be honest, it's probably a sucker's bet, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Well, these sports books, Higgins, they don't just give out free money. Sometimes they do, though. Sometimes they do. So maybe this is one of those occasions. I'll be rooting for it. It's obviously an event I'll be tuning into. I'll mention it. Haven't really tuned into the Olympics. I watched the fourth quarter of the game we're about to talk about here, but I haven't tuned in too much. I've Maybe it's because it's not the medal round. Maybe it's all just getting started. It was the weekend, so I had other things going on. I don't know, but I gotta get my Olympic watching on.
I'll tell you, we saw Australia versus Nigeria. If you didn't watch that basketball game, it was a very interesting basketball game until a technical foul late into the fourth quarter actually basically gave Australia all the momentum, and Patty Mills helped them pull away. But both of those teams proved to be thorns in the USA's side in the games coming into Tokyo, so we'll see how the United States develops beyond that. But Brett, before we even jump into that United States-France game, I gotta ask you about the Olympic parlay that I placed last episode. I took the United States men's basketball to take gold, the United States women's basketball to take gold, and the United States women's soccer to take gold. Now, this was after United States soccer had just lost 3-0 to Sweden. So I thought I was getting good odds because of that. I should have waited, though, because the United States men's basketball team lose to France out the gate. I obviously would have ended up getting better odds a little bit there. But the United States are still the favorites to be the gold medal winners. So how influential is this first round loss for them?
I mean, you want to win, right? So it's not good. But it's not the end of the world. They have a few more games in their group, and if they win the next two, they'll be fine. They'll be able to advance. Look, the world is caught up, Higgins. It's not at a point where you can throw a team together. This French team beat a USA team playing 2 years ago, and it's the same French team. These guys and these international teams are playing consistently through for their country, and so you've seen with this French team, they've played together. They beat a US team 2 years ago. And we threw guys on a plane 2 days ago. They arrived in Tokyo 24 hours ago, and they were out there playing on Sunday morning. So I think part of it is circumstantial for the USA team. Like, some of our guys got older. LeBron is on the wrong side of 35. And the other problem is we just had a long COVID season. Now, that's not really an excuse. The NBA players on Nigeria just went through that. The NBA players on France just went through that. But, you lose out on some of your quote unquote top tier talent, right? And you get stuck with your second choice or your third choice. But I think this USA team's top to bottom the most talented team there. I don't know if they'll win it, Higgins, but I've kind of maintained that feeling since the Nigeria game. I think the world's caught up. I think the Nigeria game actually really points out how great USA basketball is, that a kid like Michael Benajay can grow up in Richmond, Virginia, be nowhere near thought of good enough for the USA team, play for Nigeria and beat the USA team. Precious Achua as well, Gabe Vincent. These are all, guys who grew up playing basketball in America. They just happen to be, children of first generation immigrants or whatever the case may be. And, they're representing where they came from.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. I'm not terribly worried about that parlay yet. However, this loss to France definitely does raise a flag, raise a slight alarm to me, I guess.